If content feels like one more full-time job stacked on the one that you already have, you're not lazy, you're not behind, you've just never been handed a real system. Getting in the kitchen, getting the kids ready for bed in the living room. Like I just have tripods all over and I just be recording B-roll all over the place. Why? I've really gotten serious about making sure that I'm keeping people on my content and really locking them in. And the way that you do that is with a really strong Welcome to She Means Millions. This is my first solo episode, and I am really excited about it. Low-key a little bit nervous. We'll get through this together, but I want to talk about something that I've been just getting asked about a lot because lately I've been heavily investing in growing my Instagram following, and several of you have noticed and have been asking me like, what am I doing? You're loving my content. You wish that you knew how to do the same. And I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on what I'm doing and why. So if you are somebody that's like thinking to yourself that posting 5 times a week sounds like a full-time job, I just want you to know that it's not. It's just a system. And today I'm really going to be showing you and handing you my system. And by the end of this episode, I want you to know that I'm never going to have you staring at a blank screen and wondering what to post again. I have really gotten heavy on building this personal brand because of a few things. Number one, we are in a trust recession with AI, and having a strong personal brand is the only AI-proof, only trust recession proof entity, if you will, that you can have. You know, it's having something that is just purely authentically you. It's not a nice to have anymore. It's in 2020. Sorry, words are hard for me sometimes, but in 2026 and beyond, I really think that having a personal brand is truly going to be the whole game. You know, having a personal brand is the thing that's going to open doors. It's going to be the thing that gives you the podcast opportunities. It's going to be the thing that gives you stage opportunities. It's going to be the thing that gets you more clients. Because honestly, if you think about it, I'm guilty of this all the time. When I'm vetting for somebody new, like let's say, I don't know, let's say that I want to go to a new, dentist. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up the dentist and I'm going to look up them online. And if I see that they have a great online presence versus somebody who has none, I'm probably going to go to the one that has a great online presence. And I think that that is just the name of the game, whether you want to admit it or not. And if you're leaning away from this, I really want you to shift your perspective because it's so important now for multiple reasons. Not only is it the instant authority piece, but it gives you the street cred, it gives you the status and the trust before you ever say a single word. So people used to say, followers don't matter, but I'm here to tell you that they really do. I recently invested quite a bit of money to go and learn from somebody who I respect so much in this space. Her name is Jen Gottlieb. And she said it best. She said, people follow people, other people follow. So the more you start to grow your following, the more the followers start to roll in because people just want to be associated with people who appear to be doing big things, and people who have big followings have that appearance. So this really isn't about the vanity metrics. It's about building the kind of trust and reach that gets you in the rooms. And that starts with showing up consistently, which is exactly what the rest of this episode today is going to be about, and it's going to make it so easy for you. When I decided I really wanted to put my foot down and grow my following, for me, the breaking point was, some of you know, I went through a little bit of a near-death experience or a death experience. We've done an episode on it. We've talked about it before. And, I think I've got a really good book in me. I've learned a lot of lessons, so many things that dying taught me about living. And I would love to get a book deal and share my story with the world. So I actually reached out to an agent that I worked with back when I was in my television days. And she's like, yeah, I can absolutely try to reach out to a few publishers and see if we can get you a book deal. And their number one feedback to me, she doesn't have big enough of a following. She needs a larger audience. And so again, whether you want to admit it or not, it is the secret. It is the unlock to open doors to any and every opportunity that you want in today's world. So, there's this belief that showing up consistently takes hours. And I want you to know that, if you don't have an inspiration, if I want you to know that if you don't have inspiration to post one day, it's not going to just come to you. And so waiting to feel ready is a trap, and the perfect idea, the right lighting, the motivation that never shows up on schedule is never going to happen. So if you really want to really lean into this, grow that following, I want you to stop relying on inspiration. I want you to stop relying on perfection. That is kind of the beautiful thing about 2026 with this whole trust recession piece. The overly curated, perfect content is really not where it's at. I mean, you're probably going to see a clip of this on my social media, and I'm going to share it because it's part of building that authority, but a well-rounded content strategy is not perfectly polished, perfectly produced content anymore. It's a piece of it. If you really want to build authority, people need to see you looking like an authority. But the content that actually does the best and the most in terms of growing your audience isn't this type of content. This is going to be a supplement to really authentic, real content where I am sharing B-roll of my life, sharing just the real things that are happening. And that's the difference, I think, between having somebody that's just going to run your social media and make everything look polished and perfect, and the ones that are just doing it all themselves. I am doing it all myself. And if I can run a company as the president of eWomen Network and be a mother of two and be a wife and be a friend and be a daughter and show up on social media consistently 2 times a day, I'm here to tell you this is not the type of process that is going to be overly time consuming for you. Yes, you're going to have to commit some time, but it is definitely doable if you are committed to it. And so, there's this all or nothing cycle where people will post like crazy for 2 weeks and then they burn out and then you disappear for a month and then you feel guilty about it and then you just kind of repeat the cycle over and over. If content feels like one more full-time job stacked on the one that you already have, you're not lazy, you're not behind, you've just never been handed a real system. So I started to really think about how I'm going to do this. If I really am committed to growing my audience, I need to make sure I have not only a well-rounded strategy, but I have one that's also sustainable. And so for me, what that looked like was saying, okay.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other, a network of women helping women? I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomen Network, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you.
So I get 5 posts a week from a podcast. One single 30-minute podcast can be repurposed into 5 different posts that I share on social media, and that's one of my 2 posts per day. Then the second post is something that I have to create that's original. But here's the thing, the exhaustion was never the posting, it's the deciding, what do I post? Is it good enough? Does this even matter? And here's the thing, I have my talking head kind of authority building content done in the camera on the podcast. I don't have to do that in my other content because number 1, that becomes really exhausting to have to keep up with. And number 2, you're not in the mood most of the time. I don't want to have to create content that's to the camera where I have to think about what I'm going to say. Am I in the mood? Do I feel good about how I look? All of those things weigh on you and become so much harder to get past that resistance. So I have honestly become the queen of B-roll. I have a tripod in my office. I have a tripod that lives in the car. I have a tripod that is a phone mount that's on my windshield. I have one that's a phone mount that's on my mirror in my bathroom, one that lives in my kitchen. I just have little tripods all over the place. And that way I'm not recording any content. I'm just recording my life. I have more little clips of me just in a meeting, in a conference meeting, sitting at my desk at the computer, in front of my bathroom, getting ready, getting in the kitchen, getting the kids ready for bed in the living room. I just have tripods all over and I just be recording B-roll all over the place. Why? Because it's authentic. It's real. You can't AI. You can't fake that. And that is what's connecting. Whenever I see a big pop in my social media content, more than likely it's from one of those pieces of content, rather than my authority building content. But they're both important pieces to the puzzle because yes, you want to grow your audience, but you also want to grow your authority as a thought leader. So when I post authority content, AKA podcast content, I know I'm probably not going to see a huge bump in engagement and following and comments and likes and shares from that. Some of them do. Some unicorn posts actually have done really well. In fact, one of my podcast clips went super viral and it got me over 1,000 followers from that one podcast clip. But to be honest, that has been the rarity. Most of my podcast clips are truly just purely for the person who's researching me, who wants to know, is this woman a good speaker? Does she have a good point of view? Do I agree with her belief system? That is what that content actually does for me and my strategy versus the growth content where I know is really about repurposing the B-roll from my life. So I have a ton of B-roll and I have one post up right now, y'all, that has literally gained me 6,000 followers from one piece of B-roll content. So that is truly the strategy, and that's how I like to break it down. So, okay, Brianna, that all sounds great, but what if I still am confused around how to put this B-roll out there? What am I actually sharing? How am I adding value? That's a great question, and that is where it really comes down to the other piece that I think has been the biggest unlock for me in terms of growing my audience. You guys, if I pulled up my metrics right now, I have literally grown. I've been stuck at 18,000-ish followers for the longest time, and I would gain followers and then I'd lose them, and then I'd gain them and then I'd lose them, and I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I was sticking to my pillars, like everybody talks to you about doing. Have your 4 pillars or your 3 pillars or your 5 pillars, whatever pillars. The problem is you've got 5 pillars and none of them relate to each other. You might be sharing mother content as one of your pillars. And then for me, I'm just going to use my life as an example, right? Like fitness content has become something that's a big part of my life because I've been on my fitness and my health journey. So there's the mom content, there's the fitness content, there is the legacy content and the podcast content. There's the working woman, working mom content, and there's some overlap. But for the most part, when you think of all those buckets, they're totally different buckets. So if you have somebody that's fallen onto your page, you might think to yourself, yeah, but it's in my pillars and I share all these 5 things all the time. Here's the problem with that. And this is where I think a lot of women are getting stuck and frustrated is that they don't have a through line between their pillars to where it all makes sense. So the person that maybe came and followed you because of a really motivational fitness post doesn't give two you-know-whats about your motherhood content, or that person doesn't give a crap about your business, right? And so therefore they'll come and they'll follow you for one thing and then they feel like it's like a bait and switch. You got me in for this and now you're sharing me this and I don't care about that. There's not a through line. So before you just create your pillars, the first thing you need to do is really define your mission. And I have gotten so clear on my mission, particularly over the past year as I've been kind of healing and making sense of this near-death experience that happened to me. I've really come to this level of peace and wisdom because now I can speak from the scar. It's not an open wound anymore because it's been a couple of years. It took me a while to figure this out, but I finally figured it out. And that is my purpose, my why, my mission is to help every single woman who has ever been told that the odds are not in her favor. That even if there's just a 1% chance that she can make it through, whether it's health, whether it's a bad relationship, whether it's your credit, whether it's a business partner or a business deal, if there's just a 1% chance that you can make it to the other side, I'm here to tell you that you can. And I want every woman that's ever been told that she can't to know that it is. If there's a 1% chance, it can become your reality. And I'm the living proof of that because I had a 1% chance to survive. And now I'm building a 1% life. And the through line, when I had that realization, it became crazy because eWomen Network's mission as a brand is to help 1 million women each achieve $1 million in annual revenue. And according to the studies, only 1.7% of women entrepreneurs do that. So everything about my life is about helping women get to be the 1%. And when I got clear on that through line, now all of those pillars are filtered through that through line. So now when I'm sharing personal life related content like motherhood or faith or real life things, it's all through the lens of I was given a 1% chance for this. And I take it so heavily. Or if I'm sharing something about fitness, there was 99% of me that didn't feel like showing up to the gym this morning, but about that 1% though. Now, every piece of content, every single pillar has some kind of thread of 1% weaved into it. And now when I have a follower who comes into my realm, into my world because of this content, now all of the pillars that might not be directly related to the reason they started following all make sense because they all share the same thread. We're not threading our pillars together in a way that makes sense. So instead of starting with what do you want to talk about, start with what is your mission? What is your goal? What do you want to be known for? Sure, you have all of these facets of your life. If you're a personal brand, you want to share some of your personal life, but the way in which you tell that story, the way in which you feed it through and connect it to your why is the secret. That is the unlock. Because now what I'm seeing is, yes, I'm gaining followers, and I'm also noticing that some of the content that traditionally doesn't get a lot of engagement, they're starting to come to my page, and now they're going through my content and they're liking it and they're liking it and they're liking it because they're like, yes, yes, yes. It all lands in the 1% mission. And so for you, what is your 1% mission? What is your why? What is the thing that you want to be known for? And how are you weaving a little thread of that into every single piece of content that you share across all of your pillars? Because if they're all disjointed, they make sense to you, but to somebody who doesn't know you, they really don't care. It'll hurt your feelings, but people really don't care. So the reason that you got them in is the reason that they're gonna stay. And it does us no good if we're growing our following and then losing our following just as quickly. The unlock has been the weaving of the pillars together, and that has been the biggest game changer for me. That if you get anything from this show, I hope and I pray that that's the case. If I pulled up my insights, I think I said this earlier, I can't remember. This is really hard for me to ramble by myself for, what are we on, like almost 20 minutes here? Y'all, this is really hard. But here's what I want to say. If I didn't say it already, and if I did, you're going to hear it again. In the past 1 month alone of implementing this, I have seen my content grow from, I've been stuck at 18,000 followers for the longest time, and now I'm at over 25,000 and climbing in 1 month. 18,000 to 25,000 in 30 days. It's crazy. And it's a combination of not only having the thread and the through line in every single pillar and piece of content that I share, but also getting really clear on my cadence 2 times a day. The algorithm favors accounts who have people showing up all the time. Why? Because they want people to spend more time on their account. So if you're showing up more, that means you're on the platform more, which means the algorithm likes that. But also, if you're sharing good content that people like, you are going to get favored more because you have more people now on the platform longer, right? And so this is another piece that I learned from Jen that I totally overlooked for the longest time. I would pay attention to, they've said for the longest time, don't pay attention to the comments. That doesn't matter as much. It's all about the saves and the shares. True, those are important metrics, but the one that I overlooked that Jen really opened my eyes to is watch time and skip rate. Ooh, if you can start paying attention to the posts that have the lowest skip rate and the highest watch time, if you can really nail those 2 pieces, you're going to start to see that the views, the comments, and the shares and the saves all climb with them. So I pay more attention now to what is my skip rate and what is my watch time. And they'll tell you this reel has, a 23% skip rate, and your average reel or your past reels have an average of an 83% skip rate. I've really gotten serious about making sure that I'm keeping people on my content and really locking them in. And the way that you do that is with a really strong hook. You have to have a strong hook in front of every single piece of content. So if you study my content, you'll notice this. We've been doing the podcast since January. I've been sharing clips from the podcast since January. But really only within the past month, I never just post a cold clip. I never just go straight into the clip. There's always 3 seconds at the beginning of the video where it's a video of me pointing at some text, and that text is a hook. It's an on-screen hook about what they're about to see. And then I launch into the podcast clip. That right there has been the game changer unlock in terms of seeing my podcast clips get major interaction, because now people are like, ooh, this is a hook. This is interesting. And what you want to do is you want to pique people's interest and make them want to stay on your content. So if you don't give them a reason to want to stay, they might hear the first sentence, but the first sentence that's cut out of a 30-minute clip may or may not be that profound. It may not be that important to people. So if you can get them with a great visual hook with text on the screen that says something provocative, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I could go into my content right now and show you an example. But having something that is really going to pique people's interest. I think one of them that I shared was, if you cringe when you hear yourself, you need to watch this. Another one was the lie working moms fall for. Another hook is, the reason you can't focus has nothing to do with discipline and everything to do with this. And then I go into the podcast content. So that has been the secret that I've noticed to getting people not only to want to stay longer on my clip because I've hooked them in and now they want to know the answer. Now they want to know the thing. So now my watch time has gone up and my skip rate has gone down. And in turn, I've noticed that my views are going up. I've noticed that my engagement is going up and my followers are going up as a result of it. So those are really the key things that I think are the game changers. There's so much more. I could probably do like another 10 episodes on social media growth strategies, but I'm so passionate about it because, again, I know as women, we need to be visible. You need to build your brand. In this AI world, the window for building your brand is getting shorter and shorter because AI is going to take over the social media space. You're seeing AI influencers popping up like crazy. But here's the problem with that. You could be an influencer, but you can't pay the bills with a pocket full of famous. You need to grow an audience that actually wants to work with you. And if you want to do that, the window is now and it's closing very quickly. And so it's time to get really serious about building this personal brand, y'all. It is time to really get visible, get out there and let people know who you are because that is going to be the piece that unlocks so many opportunities. I know it at my core. I've witnessed it myself. The speaking invitations I'm getting, the podcast interview invitations that I'm getting, the people who are messaging me, asking me, so what exactly is it that you do? How can I get involved? The way that our ads are working better now, because when we run an ad on Facebook, we're running ads all the time for various things, whether it be, getting people who are interested in starting a chapter for EUMA Network and becoming a managing director in their city, to getting on our email list and grabbing one of our free resources. Those ads are performing better because the people running the ads are visible. People recognize our faces. So when they see something that they can tap into, they're like, oh, I recognize her. I want to see more of that. It is the unlock. It's the thread that helps everything happen and come to you and flow so much easier. When you're talking to somebody about a high ticket offer, you better believe they're going there scouting your social media. If you're pitching yourself for a stage, you better believe that event host is looking at your social media. If you don't have a presence, you're probably not going to get picked, and you could probably very well be more talented. You could have more value, more wisdom, more goodness than somebody else, but because they have the audience, because they've invested in growing their brand, they're going to get the opportunity over you. And I do not want that to happen to you. Why? Because I know that you do not just mean business, honey. You mean millions.